This is Mark Oppold, a closing recap of the grain trade on this Friday. We head to the final week of August with a corn trade higher in a lower volume of trade on the day. A recent crop tour putting Nebraska yields over 163.5 bushels per acre. Iowa not as strong as expected, 178.7. Moving to the eastern belt, over 196.9 bushels per acre in Illinois. Indiana, Ohio also over 180 and strong yields there. Soybeans supported from heavy rain and wind damage reported in parts of the belt. Flood warnings on the day in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Wheat futures, double-digit advances there. Stats Canada coming in with an all-wheat number that was below all trade expectations. For all the latest market and commodity prices, tune in to the Market Day Report, weekdays right here on RFD TV. This is Mark Oppold, a closing recap of the livestock trade as we head to the final week of August and the Labor Day holiday ahead. Cattle trade rebounding from the recent declines they have seen, although still a lot of work to do. Dressed beef prices ending the week at their lowest levels since July the 18th. The feeder cattle trade, country sales were as much as $4 higher to $6 lower in sales in the southern plains. Many suggest depending on what day you went to the sale, what futures were doing. Hog futures weaker as well on the day. Wholesale pork trade, their lowest since the 28th of February. And one trader said it's a fire sale in the country as far as cash prices are concerned. Producers moving hogs at any price. For all the latest market and commodity prices, tune in to the Market Day Report, weekdays right here on RFD TV.
I'm Tammy Arnder. Tonight on the Rural Evening News, crop projections are up, but so is something else, farm debt. Plus, we'll look at the rise of the Facebook farmer. Join us tonight at 7:30 Eastern for the Rural Evening News.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Natalie Noah, and here is a look at your weather update. And as you're planning your Friday forecast, we're still going to be in for extreme heat throughout much of the southern plains, the lower Mississippi Valley, and the southeast, provided by a very large upper-level ridge, allowing for those temperatures to soar. However, the same couple of storm systems that are riding along the northern tier of the country, the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, providing several days in a row with ongoing precipitation chances, and that could delay field work. Much the same as you're planning your Saturday forecast. Ongoing showers from Montana, the Dakotas, even northern Nebraska, eastward through the upper Midwest, and provided showers as well throughout the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Mid-Atlantic, while Kansas southward through Texas, including much of the deep south, still provided by high heat over that very large upper-level ridge, and that could allow for additional stress on crops. Our friends across the Four Corners lacking in precipitation, much the same along the West Coast.
This is Western Sports Roundup. We start today by congratulating Rural Media Group CEO Randy Bernard on his upcoming induction into the Rodeo Hall of Fame. Randy Bernard is a household name in the world of rodeo, as a past CEO of the PBR and most recently as executive producer of RFD TV's The American. This honor came as quite a surprise to the rodeo executive.
Oh, I was humbled. I've never thought in the wildest dreams that I would be able to go into the Cowboy Hall of Fame at my age, quite honestly. And so when I received that first phone call from Cotton Rosser saying that I've been nominated, I was like, oh, this is a dream come true. And it was very humbling, and just I'm just so gracious about it. It's incredible for me, and I don't take it lightly. It's more than just rodeo or the Western lifestyle. To me, it's about the cowboy way of life. I mean, and that's what I grew up with, and I love it. I was very lucky enough to come along to a sport that had incredible athletes who had an incredible entertainment value and athletic value, for whether it was the bull or the cowboy. And I came along at the right time. And I would say probably ignorant. It was comes to mind. We just didn't take no for an answer. If I really knew how hard it was, I'm not sure I would have wanted to do it. But it was to me, it was all about just rolling up your sleeves, working hard, and every time you fail, you get back up, just like a bull rider. You know, and as a kid at 8 years old, I wrote John Wayne a letter, and he sent me the nicest letter back. And that really probably was one of the biggest things that helped change my life, that said, Cowboys are cool.
Our congratulations to all the inductees into the Rodeo Hall of Fame, which will be honored by the Rodeo Historical Society in Oklahoma City on September 27th. The North Washington Rodeo in Pennsylvania is tagged as the Rodeo Capital of the East. This year's event got underway on August 19th and is in its 55th year. The rodeo is the main fundraiser for the area's volunteer fire department. It attracts about 300 contestants, 20,000 fans, and pays out nearly $50,000 in prize money. The 2014 edition continues through Saturday, August 23rd. You may have seen a certain proposal on RFD TV, and I'm talking about marriage proposal during the 2013 NFR. It started with a first-round win, then team roper Riley Minor proposed to longtime girlfriend Jordan Crossley on stage at the NFR buckle presentation. Their engagement led to this cowboy fairy tale wedding.
Hey, Jordan, I got something to ask you. Don't be embarrassed. Will you marry me?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
On the microphone.
Well, was that a yes
Was
or
that
no?
a yes? She said, yeah, I guess.
So I met Jordan at a rodeo, amateur rodeo, and I spotted her probably when I was about 16. She was 15, and then it took me a couple of years to get her rounded up, and then it's all over from there. When I got engaged, I knew I needed to do something special, so I had a big dream plan. If I could win a round at the finals, I'd ask her on stage to marry me, and somehow it all worked out. Tuesday night, I guess I took her on her honeymoon over there to Kennewick, 30 minutes from the house to the Champion Challenge.
And that's a wrap on Western Sports. I'm Amy Wilson. Tammy Arnder has more Real Evening News coming up.
July expiry Friday. So we've got some options going off the board today, which may play into things a little bit. However, like in fixed income, as in equities, we've got some pretty slow action with the world kind of just sitting here at tenterhooks, wondering what the next move is going to be by any of the central banks around the world. I know that it sounds crazy that it has something to do with ags and maybe even meats, but the money flows are really what's important nowadays, not to be too specific on any one product. So we've got corn up a couple cents. I think because the world thinks the weather's so good and the crops are doing so well that most people want to be short, or at least the late trade is to be short, and that's the weak hand. And because that's the weak hand, I think that you might see a little bit of a squeeze here. We're up 2, but maybe the gamble is that we finish higher in July just because of the weak short squeezing himself out, kind of like what you saw happen in gold yesterday. Again, we've seen these bull spreads work in beans with the tightness being in the fronts, but today we're giving back a lot of that. We've got the front down 15 and we got Novi down 5. We'll see if we can stem the tide in that, but right now really giving back a lot of what we gained on those bull spreads. And, you know, I've talked about this before, but keep in mind again that there's some decent houses out there that want to buy no beans once to sell 3D's corn, and that could also be playing into it a little bit as well. That 3-to-1 trade is still out there, it's still being talked about. And then finally we've got wheat. Wheat's down about a nickel. It's just the front month SEP I'm looking at, I think, and that one's a tough one, and we did see a little bit of a rebound because of the rain. But at the end of the day, that contract's off 20% for the year, and it's really had a hard time giving the bulls anything to be happy about.
Let's start off with the October cattle right now. It was up about 50 in the overnight session. Since the floor reopened, though, it has dropped off tremendously. Packer margins are up, though, and demand for live inventory is also stronger. Cash prices are down $4 to $5 in the last week alone, and that's a big move right there. Market closed up on Monday. Slaughter was down a little bit yesterday. We were down 108,000 head. Normal for this time of year is about 114 to 118,000 head. The cutout values were down at the close yesterday about 44 cents. Are we in the oversold conditions? Well, by the floor opening this morning the way it did, and it pulled right back on down underneath that 147, I don't think that that's the case right now. They're looking at tight supplies into the fall. We're going to look at support today on the October cattle at 148.05 down to 147.67, and we're going to look at resistance at 150.43 upwards of 153.72, and I think a lot of guys would like to see that higher range come into play. Let's switch over to the hogs right now. We'll look at October's. Was up a little bit in the overnight session, down at the floor open, and it came down in a pretty strong fashion there. Everybody's still talking about this being an oversold situation here, but the cutout values were down yesterday. Slaughter is down, but up from last week a little bit. The cutout values were at $1.36 below Friday's level, and we're looking at in a 1 week change. We went from 119.85 down to 109.84. Again, that's where everybody's talking about that oversold condition.
Good morning and thanks for having me. Livestock sector certainly been exciting as of late. We'll jump into perhaps the more exciting product of the complex, which has been the hogs. Much lower earlier in the week, roaring back in the latter part of the week, big move up. And next week we'll be getting the quarterly hog report. So a lot of expectation and pent-up energy built up into that. We're trading a little bit higher here, but conservatively so this morning, and we look for that to continue to be a little bit of theme here, as no one wants to be caught too short here at the moment. On the beef side of things, we continue to see spot beef move up. We continue to see the cash cattle market bid up. We continue to see futures playing catch up to that in an impressive fashion. Seasonally, this is usually where we see a little bit of a lull in price softness, but that has not yet materialized, and traders are just starting to be skeptics as to whether or not it will materialize, period. Although we're seeing a little bit of profit-taking type of light pressure into the markets here this morning, we're a little bit skeptical that that will even last for the day. So a little bit soft at the moment, but be watchful for a bit of a turnaround here later on in the trading session.
Floor traders and analysts tell me that they expect to see a more active Friday trade today in the grain markets due to July option expiration. The most open interest in July corn is at $4.50 and then $4.70 this morning. July beans have the most open interest at $14 even and then $14.20, and July wheat has the most open interest at $6 even. Traders tell me that they expect a choppy trade going into the close today, and that many continue to watch the movement in old crop versus new crop spreads. Technical analysts tell me that the July futures for corn, soybeans, and wheat are all still leaning bearish even after the run-up in prices, and even with the bulls that still remain in the market. Now, the bulls in the corn market continue to point to flooding concerns in the Corn Belt and the record ethanol production that they believe will continue to drive up futures. Now, the bulls and soybeans are also concerned over weather forecasts, and a lot of attention remains on how the USDA will handle the old crop balance sheet in their next report. For wheat, the bulls are still looking at concerns over harvest quality and production. Now, looking toward that June 30th USDA report, many here on the floor tell me that they expect to see a choppy trade in grains leading up to this report, and a possible sell-off in new crop soybeans and corn due to expectations for very high yields. Reporting from the CME Group, I'm Alexandra Lively.